I normally hike into my camping spots carrying everything in my backpack. If I'm car camping, there is much more room for warm supplies. But for this video, we are going over how I keep my dog warm backpack camping in winter and snow around -10 degrees Celsius. I'll go over each piece of gear in more detail, but knowing how to pack your bag is an important part. It will be much heavier in the winter. Mine is usually around 35 pounds. My sleeping bag is at the bottom, and then I add Kiro's 2 jackets, and his sleeping bag packs down very small. You want your heaviest items closest to your back in the middle, which for me is his food. I found this food bowl that scrunches up so it takes up almost no space. His water dish is more rigid and gets clipped to the outside of the bag.
So how I keep Kiro warm in the winter and in off season, it honestly gets pretty cold in the, hello baby, excuse me. What I really invested in was his jacket. So his base layer is a fleece rough wear zip up. And over top of that, and I use the same thing when I'm car camping with him, this Herta Expedition Parka. Put on the screen what it's rated, but it wraps around him and it covers his ears and neck, and then it goes over his legs. So it's pretty much like wearing a sleeping bag with the insulation of the pads underneath him. If his sleeping bag does fall off in the middle of the night and I don't wake up to put it back on, he's got the coats. And even just putting it over top of my legs right now, they're getting super warm. So I would recommend checking this out. He wears a medium, I believe, in both coats. He's 55 pounds. Sometimes I'll undo my sleeping bag and put it over top of both of us like a quilt for sleeping, or when we stop hiking in general. Once we get to camp, he's pretty much ready to get into the tent if he's done exploring and walking around. If he's standing still, he's going to be cold. A few things to note: Kiro is double coated. He has an undercoat that keeps him warmer. This is my sit pad. It's the Nemo Z Fold or something like that. When we're sleeping, I'll put it under him, under his main mattress, to give him that extra layer of, this is about 1 R value. So I gave him my old blow up sleeping pad that is about 2 R value. So this adds an extra R if you double up. I have thought about getting a full size closed cell foam mat just for him, so I could double that up, and then I could use it on trips that he doesn't come on. So I will most likely do that in the future, and I would recommend to you, you could even buy a full length one and cut off part of it for a sit pad and then leave the rest of it for the dog sleeping pad, because it will end up being longer than this.
I chose a kid synthetic sleeping bag rated to about -15 Celsius. You can get either down feathers or a synthetic sleeping bag. Down is more lightweight and packs smaller. However, it stops working as effectively when it gets wet, and he is likely to track moisture into the tent. If you do go with synthetic, make sure it's not cotton, because cotton holds onto moisture and will make them colder. Mine is a polyester mix.
I just gave him a rawhide, and I'll give that to him when we get to camp after he's smelt the area and checked it out. It's pretty much the first thing I do to distract him so I can focus on setting up the camp. In his little baggie, a Ziploc bag, I reuse the same one each time. I use the Roughwear collapsible water dish. It has water in it right now. It's great, but the water will freeze in the winter. Put it back into the insulated water bottle that you brought it in, or hopefully you're close to some streams that aren't fully frozen. I portion out his kibble so that it's partly his regular kibble and then part of dehydrated chicken or beef. It's super light and saves me a ton of weight in my backpack. Plus, he's way more inclined to eat it, because I don't know about your dog, but mine's really picky. Even in the winter, I know I'm in my tent right now, but I'm gonna go walk a couple yards away from camp and get him to eat over there, because I don't want to attract any animals if they can smell the scent of his food. For his shoes, I've tried out Mutlux. They just fell off his feet. For the most part, if it's not colder than -20 Celsius, I find that he's not lifting his paws and he doesn't eat it. Every dog's going to be different. I am still in the market for shoes. That's the one thing I have not been able to nail down. What really helps is this Musher Secret. So on days where it is super cold, it's just a balm and you put it on the bottom of his pads, and it prevents the snow from packing in between his toes. So snow won't get packed in there and freeze. It also protects their paws. It works on salt on the sidewalk. Having a proper tent. If it's a tent that can keep yourself warm, then that's gonna also help keep your dog warm. This is my 3-season tent. We have it right now because it's a pretty warm day at the beginning of February. I do use this with the fly put on over top. The mesh allows moisture to escape, and then the fly will obviously keep out any of the elements. I normally use Hot Paws, but they're not reusable. So I came across this company called Hot Pock. They come in different sizes. This big one I will put in between his 2 jackets, and what happens, it's really cool. You click the device and it instantly heats up, and it'll be warm for about 2 hours. So instead of boiling a bottle of water and Nalgene, and I'll keep that in my sleeping bag to keep me warm, but sometimes I don't bring 2, or it's not going to be able to stay close to him because it's a big clunky water bottle. So these are really awesome. Once you get home, you just boil them and they'll reset and you can keep reusing it.
Next week's video focuses on a really easy car camping setup that we use. We're preparing for a spring road trip and we're going to hike up a really cool mountain, so stay tuned for next week. Subscribe, like, comment if you want to support our channel, and let us know that we should keep making videos.